Can you walk us through what this phase 2 trial means and the success of it?
Well, we just got approval from the FDA to do a trial in patients with Alzheimer's. We have a drug, furalimab from Tiziana Life Sciences, which dampens inflammation in the brain. And we have been using it in multiple sclerosis and have had positive results. We can see the decreased inflammation in the brain. And we believe that this will also work in Alzheimer's. And so we applied to the FDA. They agreed as well. We had approval, and we're now going to begin screening patients to treat them with this. It's like a nasal spray with no side effects for patients with Alzheimer's.
I got a ton of questions, Dr. Weiner. Let's start off by talking about how long is this trial going to last? When do you think you're going to see a result from it? Is this something you can do relatively quickly? You've obviously got a lot of science already behind the product.
Yeah, we spoke yesterday to our unit. We're starting to screen patients this fall. I think we'll treat our first patients at the beginning of the year, and we should have results in the fall of 2024, initial results.
And you mentioned inflammation. What else can this then potentially be used for? You mentioned MS and then Alzheimer's, but can this also have broader uses?
It can. The inflammation we're talking about is inflammation in the brain. And the cell in the brain that causes the inflammation is called a microglial cell. And we can image that with a brain scan. And because the microglial cell in the brain is involved in MS, in Alzheimer's, in Parkinson's, in ALS, even in long COVID, the nasal furalimab could apply to all those diseases, and we have a way to measure it. And Tiziana has been supporting the furalimab, which I'm very happy about, of course. And trials are going ahead in MS, and now we're ready to start Alzheimer's.
Is this going to be a standalone? Are you going to? I'm assuming you're going to test it standalone, but could it work in conjunction with some of the other Alzheimer therapies that are being talked about at the moment as well and being tested at the moment?
Absolutely, absolutely. We will test it alone because it works on microglial cells. But Alzheimer's has three components: amyloid, tau, and microglial cells. The drugs that are approved are monoclonal antibodies given intravenously for amyloid. This is a different approach, targeting the microglia. So it could be given with the anti-amyloid drugs. Actually, some of the side effects from the anti-amyloid drugs, this could dampen.
So why do you think the medical community is making so much breakthrough right now with Alzheimer's? Like what changed in the last few years that it sort of enabled all of this to be possible?
It's a good question. I think the breakthrough is understanding the biology that drives it and being able to measure it. So the biology is amyloid, and finally an anti-amyloid drug worked, and that's very big. We also know that there's something called tau in the brain, and people are trying that. And then there's microglial inflammation that for the first time we can see in the brain. And furalimab, Tiziana's furalimab, decreases this microglia. What I would say is the reason we have the breakthrough is because we understand the disease better and we can measure it.
What's a win here? Just give me the kind of, any progress is good progress. But what would look like a win here? This is, I understand this is being targeted at mild to moderate Alzheimer's cases. What potentially could the drug do? It's a slowdown in progression. It's a reverse. I'm just wondering how high our expectations should be.
Well, you always hope for the best. I think a win would be slowing down progression, but people with Alzheimer's could actually improve their cognition.
Wow.
In our MS patients that we treated with furalimab, some of them are walking better and have less fatigue, so that some of their neurologic symptoms are reversed. So a win here would be not only slowing progression, but actually improvement in cognition. Of course, we'll be testing that.
Wow. That would be huge. I mean, that's an understatement. Guy, also going back to the long COVID theory. So as we know, I suffer from long COVID, and my whole
Yep.
life revolves around reducing my inflammation, and I've recovered really well. But a lot of the reason why you don't have people coming back in the workforce, particularly maybe in the UK, is because of long-term illness. And if part of that's long COVID, and if there could be something to actually treat that, that would be an enormous boost potentially for the labor market.
So I would
Absolutely
agree.
huge.
Sorry, you
Yeah.
had the long
Sorry,
COVID.
sorry, Dr. Wiener. Yeah, jump in.
Oh. Yeah, so microglial cells are also activated in long COVID. And we treated COVID patients with firalimab, and it helped their lungs. I think it will help long COVID, and we're actually getting ready. We haven't asked for permission yet, but we're getting ready to treat some long COVID patients, do the microglial PET scans, and I think there's a chance that'll be helped. But that's on the books.